So, moving on to understanding the standards. Let's just take a quick look. Our four big rocks, right, for our standards: creating, which is a lesser used standard; performing, which is where we spend most of our time, rightfully so; responding, another lesser used standard; and connecting, also a lesser used standard. So let's get into it. We're going to go ahead and unpack. There's no need to talk about performing. We do that all the time. But let's go ahead and unpack these lesser used standards so that we can examine how to use them to provide a richer music education for our students in the band room. So creating, that's the first lesser used standard. A lot of us do this, but some of us don't. And so let's just talk about possible ways that we can implement this standard. What does it look like in the band room? So one thing, let me kind of move my face here so you can see everything. One thing is improvisation. This is a big part of creating, and it's spontaneous creation, correct? That's all improvisation is. It's just spontaneous composition. So, and it doesn't have to be jazz. This was something that I always wrestled with because I'm not a jazzer. I play the flute, I play the piano, but I was classically trained. So I wasn't completely comfortable with teaching my students how to improvise. Well, little did I know, I was limiting improvisation to just jazz, but improvisation existed in Baroque music, so it's been around a long time. There are lots of free backing tracks out there to have the students pick one of a certain number of notes, and it can help them with improvisation. And I'll actually put that link to a YouTube that we use for improvisation in our classroom here at my school, and it's free, totally free, completely free. Everything we use is free, and so it will help your students get more comfortable with improvisation because first off, there's a backing track going on behind them, so they don't feel so exposed. And then they only choose from 5 or 6 notes. Helps them stay very focused, and every note fits. So it's a really great exercise to get them comfortable with spontaneous composition. Now, speaking of composition, that is another way to get them creating in the band room, encouraging students to use the theory skills that I know they're learning in our classes to compose. And you use really specific guidelines. I actually have a sample lesson that I'll also post in the discussion board so you can see it, that we use in our classroom, and I've used it several times. Composition is a thing that I really enjoy. We actually have moved to a different system now that isn't free, that does deal with music theory and composition. So I won't mention that, but there are lots of ways to utilize free composition lessons and free software. So it's all out there. And then finally, arranging. So encouraging students to rearrange music that we play like they play for different groupings of instruments. So they may take a a piece that you are playing on a concert or have played in the past and rework it. So I had a group of students that did Amerland, like a really crunched down short arrangement of Amerland on recorders. And so I'll post that video for you as well. And that way you can check it out for yourself. But they did it for recorder ensemble. So they took it, rearranged it, worked out all the notes and the chords and all that, and I let them perform it on our winter concert. So, all right. So let's jump right into responding in the band room. So, if you've been following our webinar series here, you've heard me talk about listening journals and the things that we do with our listening journals at my school and schools I've taught previously. And it's just a great way to expose students to new music and getting them thinking critically about the music. Um, and also, it's a great way to get them thinking critically about the music they're actually performing. So really getting them to dig around and get into the music so that they can tell that story that the music is aiming for. Another thing that we use is self and peer evaluation journals. So we have them evaluate their own performances. And it can be formal, it can be written, a Google form, or it can be informal, just verbal feedback in class. What did you think? Is it a one, two, three, four, or five? Give it a rating. Um, one peak and one pit, one thing you liked, one thing you didn't like, and just getting them accustomed to giving constructive feedback. And that's really important for their own evaluation as well as the evaluation of others. And then finally, dissecting the music, familiarizing students with program notes, story behind a piece, the poetry behind a piece, all of those different things. If the piece is based on a song and it has lyrics, familiarizing them with those song lyrics so they know what they're playing and they know how to best convey the story to their audience. And that's really important. That's one part of responding. It's one part of um, taking the music learning to another level. They're not just playing the notes and rhythms because you told them to. They're playing them in a way that is more meaningful and it can help them perform the music even better and appreciate it even more. And this can go on right at the beginning in beginning band. I mean, this is not something that is a high level concept that's beyond students, younger students. Mm-mm. Everyone can do this. Another thing that we do when we want the students to dissect the music, I have my students do listening maps. And listening maps are basically pictures, visual representations of the music. So if they hear um, like birds chirping, they'll have pictures of birds, and then they'll have the arrows going to um, maybe a dragon, or then maybe back to birds, and then maybe to you know I don't know, a castle or something. So they're telling the story with images and they have the freedom to tell the stories that they hear in their head. And a lot of times, one of the listening journals we actually do is write a story to go with the music. So if this were a piece of music for a movie soundtrack, tell me what's going on in the movie, right? That's another thing that we have them do. And then having students assign colors, emotions, actions, all of these things to sections of the music, writing on there the heroine is crying, or the children are happy, or whatever, or this is brown, this is gray, this is red, this is purple, all of those different things so that they can really get inside of the music that they're playing and it begins to mean more when they're able to assign real concrete things to a very abstract thing that we do.